The 18th sitting of the Tobago House of Assembly 2013-2017 session took place in the Assembly Chamber at Gillingham Street, where Assistant Secretary for Education, Youth Affairs and Sport, Joe Mopit, moved the motion standing in his name. The motion calls for the House to urge the island's youth to recognize their role in Tobago's development and to maximize the opportunities available for their own development.
Youth account for 31% of Tobago's population of 6,735. That's over 20,000 persons of interest. Such a substantial percentage of Tobago's population falling within the youth bracket. It is important to recognize that young people are critical to Tobago's development. Mr. Presiding Officer, I can't speak for the others, but one of the reasons why I'm privileged to be standing here today is primarily because the youths in my electoral district, Lambo-Signal Hill, realized that they could not take the chance of being indifferent or apathetic to the outcome of the 2013 THA elections. Voting and non-voting youths were active participants in the campaign process. Tobago youths had a sense of the impact alternative results would have had on their daily lives. The relevance to them was so well pronounced that they took action. We all know the saying, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, and you feed him for a lifetime. We cannot expect to create leaders of tomorrow if we encourage and support a dependency syndrome environment. It is my very firm belief that cash handouts for events do not have the same positive impact as financial support for programs. As the Assistant Secretary in the Division of Education, Youth Affairs and Sports, numerous requests for financial assistance come across my desk from various entities. One of the criteria used to determine if any assistance is provided and how much is provided is the tangible benefits that will be gained by the targeted beneficiaries. I believe that events should be used either to launch a sustainable program or to be the culmination of a program. We in the Department of Youth Affairs do not have or do not profess to have found the perfect solution to issues that the youth face today. But through better collaboration and communication among the various stakeholders, including the various THA divisions, all of our efforts would provide an impact powerful enough to put this generation of young people back on track. Mr. Presiding Officer, as you know, the Department of Youth Affairs is the entity within the Tobago House of Assembly with the primary responsibility of youth and youth development. The following are core methods of youth development: advocacy and empowerment, participation and involvement, capacity building and training, community service, and volunteerism. In this regard, the department has provided its programming into 4 key areas: youth in governance, youth power, youth in the media, and youth in communities.
Mr. Presiding Officer, this motion is a timely one. When we look generally at our nation and we see the direction in which the youths of our nation are heading, we sort of have a balanced scale where some youths seem to be taking the wrong pathway and others are fighting hard to be on that straight and narrow road. And therefore, a motion like this at this time to speak to the young people of Tobago, to have them to take up that initiative to come forward and be more active in the role as positive citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. In the Division of Agriculture, Marine Affairs, Marketing and the Environment, there was a program introduced in 2004 called the Youth Apprenticeship Program in Agriculture. Mr. Presiding Officer, this program was designed to encourage and attract the youths of Tobago into the field of agriculture. As the older heads go out, the young people are not really interested in the type of agriculture that was done. Now, in the form of interest, that's where training and education in agriculture become of vital importance. Therefore, it has become necessary for the division to take such an initiative to have the young people of Tobago who are interested in farming, to have them trained and have them ready to be effective farmers. Mr. Presiding Officer, the modernized agriculture industry that we see today, it aids to ensure food security for the people of Tobago. Mr. Presiding Officer, one may question the whole outlook. One may question the type of chemicals used for the development. For example, back in the old days, Mr. Presiding Officer, you will catch that yard cock a week before and tied by the tree. That is Sunday to come meal. Today, Mr. Presiding Officer, in 4 weeks' time, you have a grown chicken ready for the pot. So it is very important that in a developing world, in a developing country, that the food, the aspect of food also has to keep up with the pace of the population. So in the general area, Mr. Presiding Officer, of this whole environment, that as we grow and as we plant food, we must have respect for the environment. So in all and all, in the development of agriculture, the environment must not be compromised. And therefore, Mr. Presiding Officer, it has become necessary that the division undertake such a training program for young people of Tobago, the young farmers of Tobago. Mr. Presiding Officer, that's why at this time, it is very important that this Honorable House consider and support the activities by the Department of Youth Affairs in the Tobago House of Assembly, and that this Honorable House urge the island's young people to appreciate and recognize their role in Tobago's development and maximize the array of opportunities afforded to them to ensure their own development.
Mr. Presiding Officer, I believe that our youth is our most important human asset here in Tobago. And therefore it's important that we make the necessary investments to create the kind of opportunities required for young people to not only operate in this environment, but to operate in such a way that they will contribute positively to society and therefore be successful individuals. And Mr. Presiding Officer, we often use the term that young people are the leaders of tomorrow. I tend to disagree with that because I believe young people are also the leaders of today. And when you look at this administration, for example, this administration over the years would have made significant investments in young people, putting them in the positions to accept responsibility and to accept the mantle of leadership. I believe that this thing about youth development and youth empowerment has to be a collaborative effort, because it cannot be just the Tobago House of Assembly putting programs and putting initiatives in place. There must be collaboration between the Tobago House of Assembly and the private sector and the churches and the community-based organizations and so forth. Because the Tobago House of Assembly government, Mr. Presiding Officer, does not have all the answers, does not have all the solutions to some of the serious issues facing our young people today. And I want to say that efforts to foster youth development and youth empowerment must be sustained, collaborative, and probably most importantly, innovative. Because society has changed, times has changed, we now live in the information age. And therefore, the programs and the initiatives that would have worked back in my days in the 1990s would not necessarily work today. And therefore, our initiatives and our programs in the Assembly and in Tobago in general must reflect the change of times. Because one of the things I try to communicate with those that I lead is that what we do is really not about us. What we do is beyond us, and it's important for us to identify the bigger picture, which is in fact the people of Tobago. Apart from the vocational skills training program, we launched the capacity building workshop, I think it was last week. And this is where we provide training to our young people in leadership, financial management, fundraising, ethics and accountability, communication, and a number of other areas. And what we are seeking to do here, Mr. Presiding Officer, is to empower our young people. Because we believe that with the best government, the most transparent, most honest, most innovative government will be useless if we don't have effective leadership at the community level. And therefore, we are trying to identify those people within the community, those young people with the capacity to lead, and therefore provide them with the training that will make them cutting-edge leaders. But I want to extend a challenge to every single young person out there, every single young person in this room, every single young person in Tobago, to really do your part. Every single individual, no matter how young or old you are, has a part to play in the Tobago context. Every single individual has the capacity to lead. Every single individual has the capacity to impact this generation of Tobagonians positively. And therefore, I want to implore every single young person to do three things. First of all, identify and understand your vision. Because I think every single person is unique. No two individuals were created the same. And therefore, our purpose for being here in this earth and in this beautiful island is significantly different. And after you have identified your vision, your purpose for being here, identify your value, those specific talents, those specific giftings that you have that could not only benefit you personally, but benefit the wider Tobago populace. And thirdly, understand and identify your sphere of influence. Whether your sphere of influence is the whole of Tobago, whether it's the guys on the block, or whether it's restricted to the people within your community or the environment in which you work, understand your sphere of influence and function in that sphere of influence. And I think if every single person understands that they have the capacity to lead, and that leadership is not restricted to those with bachelor's degrees and those in high office, then I think, in fact, we can have a better Tobago and a more fast or a faster developing Tobago.
Mr. Presiding Officer, most young people, if not all, after having satisfied the qualifications and coming back home ready to serve and ready to work, then feel the urge and feel the need to satisfy at least one or two of those basic needs. And the major one would be that of shelter. Because it is becoming more and more evident that our cadre of young persons in Tobago are indeed extremely ambitious and highly qualified. And this simply translated into meaning that young people of today are quite prepared to make the necessary sacrifices in an effort to achieve that one major investment in their lifetime, a place to rest their heads at night, a place to call their own, a place to call home. And so, Mr. Presiding Officer, this ties in perfectly well and seamlessly into strategic priority area number 5 from the CEDP, social development and resilience. As a young person myself, I feel that it's critical that we make the distinction as it relates to land distribution and land banking. Because I am of the strong view that in spite of the fact that individuals feel the need and have the desire to own a piece of land, you must be able to show the capacity to be able to build on that piece of land within a certain time frame. Because what we will find happening is land banking. You would find that you get the piece of land and it sits there for years. And we would want to avoid something like that happening, Mr. Presiding Officer. When call on infrastructural works has been completed in October of this year, we will build some houses there. And Mr. Presiding Officer, now that the Millsherv case is over and we have a verdict and we can all be pleased in Tobago after the former Secretary of Finance, the present Secretary of Finance, the Honorable Chief Secretary would have been vilified in the public domain, they are now vindicated. Because at the end of the day, our responsibility is to the people of Tobago. Our responsibility is to the development of our island and the development of our people. As such, Shervan housing development is coming full steam ahead. Private-public partnership expression of interest will be in the papers next week. It has already been sent to be printed in the papers, Mr. Presiding Officer. We didn't wait. We did our homework while awaiting that judgment. Mr. Presiding Officer, some 63 acres would be developed in Shervan for housing. 350 to 400 housing units solutions for young persons of Tobago to have a place to call home. And once all goes well, before the end of this financial year, Mr. Presiding Officer, that project will commence. So, Mr. Presiding Officer, I think this is a good time to probably take my seat. But before I take my seat, I want to say to all young people in Tobago who are listening that we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. And let's watch and make it happen.
But I would want to start at a very important point where my colleague, Councillor Dion Isaac, left off. And he spoke about the home ownership savings program for Tobago young adults. And I'm proud that he referenced it, because sometimes, as a presiding officer, and having worked closely then with my predecessor and now, assuming the office of Secretary of Finance, you can sit back and sometimes you are maligned, sometimes you are criticized, sometimes people challenge the reason why some programs and plans are implemented. And I'm proud of that home ownership program, Mr. Presiding Officer. And more importantly, I'm proud of the 500 or so young people who took the initiative and who took the advice of this administration and started investing We saw what was happening in terms of the falling savings rate. We saw what was happening in terms of real estate prices. We saw what was happening where young persons, instead of investing in appreciating assets that would increase in value over time, young persons were investing in cars and trinkets and other things. And what will happen once they started to invest in depreciating assets is that down the road, when the time came for them to now put down that down payment on the house that they would have qualified for at settlements, Mr. Presiding Officer, they're unable to do so. And many of them would have lost out on the opportunity at home ownership. And Mr. Presiding Officer, I must commend my colleague for the other initiatives and programs that are currently in train at the Division of Settlements and Labor. Tobago is a new land of opportunity because as we continue, as this administration has done, it's a new land of opportunity. As we have done since 2001, we have created the enabling environment, and we urge our young adults to grasp the opportunities, to be proactive. We would encourage them to read the newspapers. We are well aware of the issue of the numbers pointing to an increase in the unemployment rate among young persons, while the national average is trending downwards to 5% or so. We still see that unemployment around young persons, and that is why when we saw that trend, Mr. Presiding Officer, we put in place the YES program, we put in place the grant program to facilitate persons getting into entrepreneurship. But we are providing the enabling environment, and we encourage them to read, check the newspapers. I could point persons to the Tobago Information Technologies Limited Employment Exchange Bureau. Also, my colleague, Councillor Dion Isaac, spoke about the settlements Facebook page. Also, we would advise persons to look at the Facebook page of the YES program and also the Business Development Unit. Look at the previous budget statements, as a young lady who came to Councillor Isaac's office did. Also look at the CDP, and these documents are available online. And as our Chief Secretary has said, I want to coin it this way: an investment in Tobago's young people is an investment in Tobago's future. There can be no doubt that tomorrow's leaders are among us, in our homes and schools, in our offices, on the playing fields. But we in this administration, we have a duty and a responsibility, therefore, to guide, to coach, to advise, so that our young people recognize their role in Tobago's development and to maximize the array of opportunities that I have just outlined, so that their personal development can be assured.
Mr. Presiding Officer, there are two things I really want to drive home in this motion. As you've listened to everyone this afternoon or today, we realize the amount of programs and opportunities available to young people. I dare say most, if not all, parents will tell their children today, no, all the young people have it far better than how we had it in my time. And this is one of the main concerns I have, that in the era, in an environment where we have so much opportunities, so much resources, so much available for young people, somehow we're not able, and we, the the officials in office. Somehow we've not been able to bridge or find that bridge, I should say, where we have the resources, we have the young people, and to get them across that bridge, to take advantage of the resources available. We had to get the young people to recognize that they have to change the mindset from being that of being a victim and coming up with reasons as why things can't get done. We have a responsibility to get them to that point where we're saying we could make it happen, and we will make it happen. And that's the challenge that we face. The other point I want to drive home is that today, listening to all the various programs available and offered by the various divisions, I dare say, I might be a little bit embarrassed to say, but I will say nevertheless, that the youth department does have the responsibility or given the mandate for youth and youth development. But clearly you could see that we can't do it by ourselves. And clearly all the divisions have stepped up and offered their various programs, all in the aim or the goal to provide a better future for our youngsters, or our youths. But I want to get the point across too, that listening to the program, like I said, many of which I'm unaware of, which brings home the point that we need to have a better dialogue, more dialogue, better communication, more collaboration within the divisions, so we avoid the overlapping of programs, and in some cases the conflicting of goals.
Members, the question is, whereas the Tobago House of Assembly approved the Comprehensive Economic Development Plan for Tobago 2013 to 2017, which inter alia speaks to engendering various initiatives and achieving specific objectives that promote youth advancement on the island. And whereas both the Comprehensive Economic Development Plan and the National Youth Policy 2013 to 2017 have set 2017 as the target date to achieve such initiatives, and whereas within the Tobago House of Assembly, the responsibility to facilitate the optimal intellectual, physical and social development of young people has been delegated to the Department of Youth Affairs in the Division of Education, Youth Affairs and Sport, and whereas the Department of Youth Affairs, in pursuit of its stated objectives, has utilized in designing and developing youth-focused programs an evidence-based approach to empower the island's young people to become active participants in Tobago's development, be it resolved that this Honorable House consider and support the activities of the Department of Youth Affairs, and be it further resolved that this Honorable House urge the island's young people to appreciate and recognize their role in Tobago's development and maximize the array of opportunities afforded to them to ensure their own development. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The motion is therefore carried.
Thank you for joining us for the 18th sitting of the Tobago House of Assembly 2013 to 2017 session.